Good evening, everyone. Hope we're all doing well. Hopefully, you all heard Luke saying he just lost a bit of weight. That's always good to go into the stream with, especially the final one. It's the final one. It is the final one. End game, as the Avengers would call it. We've got Eze on the front cover because he is the man everyone is looking to be the final Avenger of this season. We'll talk about him. We'll talk about some other options. No Mark. He was close, wasn't he, Luke? He messaged us. He was like, "Oh, I'm up for it," and then he wasn't up for it. So just me and you today, buddy.
Yeah, orange flag again from Marky. Are you not going to do like a final review then? That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think so. Well, hopefully we'll do like a post season wash
Nice.
up, which hopefully we'll have you on for as well. Don't know when that'll be. Mark normally runs that. Has he got time to run that? So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, hopefully they're always fun. Although last year it was fun because I beat him, and this year he's going to beat me.
Oh my God, yeah, I forgot about
He's
that. So
actually he's actually going to have clawed back 60 points in 2 weeks, and he's ahead of me, and he's actually going to beat me. It is yeah, very very depressing. So yeah, we'll talk about that. Ben Gunn's already saying get on with it. So we got to pad this one out. To be honest, there isn't a huge amount to talk about. There's a couple of options that we can discuss. But yeah, it's forwards. Forwards are interesting. We'll get onto those in a bit. I think I might be able to sway you potentially with some interesting forward options. But for the rest of the show, we're going to recap the game week so far. Obviously, the Man City game is happening in a bit. There's rumours flying around of certain players not travelling and certain players starting, and I don't know who's playing.
teasers all over the
All
place.
these teasers, yeah. So we'll let you know when we get the team news for that. But we'll be finished before that match starts, so you can carry on. And yeah, then we'll review some stats and we'll try and pick out some gems for this final game week. Before we do that, it is of course our sponsor for this episode, which is NordVPN. If you've been following BlackBox at all this season, you'll be very familiar with NordVPN. They are well, I think they've sponsored the most episodes for us. We always had lots of good sponsors this year, but Nord have been the most consistent, so we're really grateful for them. If you're not familiar with who Nord are, they are the fastest and best reviewed VPN on the market. They will increase your internet security leaps and bounds. It's really, really important. You can use a VPN to hide your IP address, which massively increases your privacy online, particularly in public Wi-Fi spots. You can also use it to connect to other countries and get their programs. So you can watch Japanese Netflix or maybe even the football matches as well, especially this weekend with all the games at once. And you can also use it as a kind of general antivirus as well. It will block intrusive sort of viruses getting onto your computer and check your emails and attachments and all that kind of stuff. So there's 24/7 support, a 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get an exclusive deal through us. Just go to nordvpn.com/scout and check it out. Yeah, and make sure your internet is nice and protected going into the summer holiday. And you won't have me to constantly be reminding you to get NordVPN after this episode because it's the last one for a while. So get it done now. Right, let's take a look at game week 37 so far. You're having a bit of a shocker, Luke.
Yeah, it's not the way I wanted to go out, to be honest. Was sat around 30k, and then this week I think I've dropped to 50k. Literally just like nothing's happened for me at all. As you can see, it's on the screen, but for those that are listening on the pod, it's Kepa in goal. I was hoping he'd get both the games, but I think there's murmurs now that he might not even play this next one.
Really?
Or yeah, Lamps was sort of oohing and ahhing about it, but to be honest, I don't think it'll make much difference even if he does start. Just didn't want to make a goalkeeper transfer. Got Trent at the back. I was pretty much assured. Everyone was telling me like you got to play Trent for this game. He's definitely getting points. Would he end up with 1 point? It's just a classic. Estupinan, Shaw, Fernandez, Salah, Rashford, Mitoma, McAllister, Haaland captain, and then Isak, who got the 1 pointer, I believe. I can't see it on
God,
the screen.
he had a nightmare game.
He
Really
did. So the main dilemma I had going into this week was the fact I didn't have Bruno Fernandez, and I really wanted him. So I thought, okay, I'm going to have to get him. I actually sold Grealish for a hit because I couldn't do it in a straight move to get him. It's pretty much my only option unless I wanted to sell Salah. I didn't want to do that. So I took Grealish out expecting that he'd probably get one game as long as the title was still on. I didn't think he'd play two. And then obviously Arsenal went and lost the game versus Forest, which made it completely redundant. So at least I called that right taking him out. I don't think he's going to play tonight, but I guess we'll see. Unfortunately, the man Bruno didn't really do much. Captain on Haaland as well, obviously didn't play. So also hoping he starts tonight, but he's like 200% EO anyway. So there's not much left that can actually save my game week, to be honest. I've got Shah to come in with a clean sheet. Like they finally get their clean sheet as soon as I bench a Newcastle player if Rashford doesn't start, but I think it's looking likely he is going to start, isn't it? So yeah, not ideal. It's just that team's so template. There's just nothing to excite me, and all the ones that potentially could have already failed. So it's quite depressing. Final week though, I think I just dropped out of 50k, so I'm just going to have to like do something crazy. I think.
Sorry,
I don't know what.
Let me just. I've got my tiny violin around here somewhere. It's from last week. It's I can't find it. Yeah, Isak's been the killer. Isak has been the absolute killer because both of us ignored Wilson and so didn't have that haul. And this week, we'll talk about my team in a bit, but the Isak to Alvarez move, we both dodged that in favour of basically taking a 4-point hit for Fernandes and no one else, right? You bought in Kiwior and benched him. I bought in bloody Rico Lewis, who got a clean sheet. I benched him as well. But yeah, I mean, we did essentially the same transfer. This is my team. I'm on 42 just because I got those Trippier points.
He's starting tonight, by the way, Rico Lewis. His granddad's on the Blue Moon forum, and he basically leaks when he's going to start, and he's already done it. So you can lock that one in. Lewis is definitely starting.
He's definitely starting. Good. Well, yeah, he's third on my bench. There's no way he's coming in. But I did the Grealish to Fernandes and the Lewis. He was just a 3.8 defender. But as soon as I did it, I just thought, why didn't I get rid of Isak? I don't like him on the left wing. I think Wilson's the better option, and I want Alvarez, and I think he's going to probably start both of these games. So that decision's already cost me 7 points. It's probably going to cost me some more tonight. It's just that end of the season, I'm just making sort of stupid decisions. I'm panicking a bit too hard. I went for Fernandes captain. You mentioned Haaland being 200% ownership. If he gets a couple of goals tonight, that's going to really hurt. The rest of my team's the same as yours, pretty much. I've got Trippier, who got 9. A lot of people benched him.
Yeah, that's killed me, that has.
Yeah, there'll be quite a few Trippiers coming off the bench for Grealish's, I imagine.
Yeah, Diaz, all sorts. Yeah. He's coming off the people are getting Newcastle players off the bench. I just want to point you out on that Isak Alvarez thing, because I had that lined up as well, potentially to do. I don't think we can beat ourselves too much up about that, because maybe I should have put more weight on the fact that Arsenal would actually lose the game, and the title would be completely
I called them to lose it on the predictions, didn't I?
Fair enough.
I didn't even factor that in. I panicked, just blind panic.
I just think even though Isak's left wing, right, he could have easily performed against Leicester because they're terrible. And then if you're taking a hit to remove Isak at home to Leicester for Alvarez, who you don't know who's going to play, but he might not even play tonight.
But we took the hit anyway. That's my point. We both took the hit anyway for a defender.
Yeah, but I would have done that if I could have done it for the hit, just that. But I was 0.3 short, so I'd had to take a -8 to do that. I couldn't do it in one.
Oh, so you couldn't do Isak to Alvarez?
No. Otherwise, I would have 100% done that.
Good. That makes me feel a lot better, Luke. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, we might not start tonight, and then he hasn't done much either, has he? Really? What did he get?
He got 8
points.
He got 8. Yeah, he got 8. But I was relying on Isak, wasn't I? And he got 1, so it's 7 points, and then whatever he gets tonight. So it is a pretty bad decision. It could end up being 14, 15, maybe even more. But anyway, it's fine. I got so fixated on Watkins because I was like, if I sell Watkins, that's it. But then I want him back for this Brighton game because I think that Brighton at home game could be quite good for Villa. I didn't even think about selling Isak until literally the second after I made the move for Lewis, and I was like, I should have just sold Isak. Alvarez is much better than Isak for this week. Anyway, it's done. It's fine. We move on.
Yeah, maybe a slight error that one. Yeah, to be fair, yeah. I'd like to give you some comfort, but
there isn't any.
Have you got Watkins to come in if Rashford doesn't play? I've just noticed.
I have, yeah, with his lovely 0. Mark was straight on WhatsApp with me after that. Watkins missed a penalty, get you a nice 0 when he comes on for Rashford. It's like, yeah, cheers, Mark. Yeah,
brilliant,
good,
straight in there.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Watkins for next week, surprisingly, and I'm sure we'll get to it. Looking at reviews data, Watkins is currently the top forward pick as per review for next week. And I think me and you are probably two of the only remaining Watkins owners around, and we have been punished in all the games we thought maybe he could do something. I know we didn't play him this week, so we kind of dodged that bullet, but I feel like he owes us. He's the top pick, so hopefully he can get something at home to Brighton.
It's quite impressive that we've had Watkins and Isak, 2 players who've done quite well all season that they've been here, and we've just got them at the worst times pretty much, and they've just
I actually had Isak a lot before.
Did you?
Everyone bought him. So when I had him, he was fun. As soon as everyone else got him, they broke him for once rather than me.
Yeah.
So
we've been too patient, I think, with those two particularly. There's moves we could have made, but anyway, we didn't. This is the great and the good standings. You can see here Mark has overtaken me. unbelievably, he's 9 points ahead of me. He's essentially got Mahrez and Alvarez to my Rashford as well. So this could get worse if they both
Yeah.
start tonight. I've got Matoma as well, and he's got the double Brighton defence. I don't know. It's all a bit of a mess. I think I could probably go into this about 20 points behind him, and then it's season over. Oh, awful. Absolutely. The worst thing that could have happened. 60 points he made up in 2 weeks. It is incredible. I remember when he was doing the Scoutcast with Granville, he was in a similar boat. He was about 100 points behind Granville, and he slowly chipped away at it over the season and caught him up. He hasn't done that with me. He's just explosively done it in like 2 weeks. So fair play to him. I wasn't.
He's gone for it in the last few weeks,
Yes.
hasn't he? But it's just worked out. That, to be fair, I don't understand why you don't see that more often. Maybe I just don't notice it because nearly everyone on Twitter seems to be amazing at FPL, or everyone just does well, or at least what I see on my timeline. But honestly, if you are down where Mark is or whatever, there is literally no reason in my mind not to just go Hail Mary on that stuff. Like, that would have made it so much easier to buy the likes of Alvarez, Foden, the guys that he's got in, all these random, well, not necessarily random. They're still good picks. It's just more gambling on the minutes, I guess.
Well,
more
that's
than
it.
else.
That's it. I mean,
Yeah.
Alvarez and Wilson have been two good picks. I mean, he got that Estepinian 17 pointer, which is just that's 100%, 100% luck. That one. No one saw that coming, but yeah, he's taken the captaincy off Haaland. He has gone for it, and fair play. I mean, I'm never going to live it down. It's probably, when he beats me, it'll be the worst moment ever in my entire FPL life. But can't really begrudge him it, especially because he's having difficulties at home as well.
Yeah, but just take solace from the fact that he had to literally shut everything else down just to focus on beating you. He literally shut down everything else in his life.
That is true. Yeah, there is some solace in that. I mean, you've had a good season, whatever happens though. You're going to finish comfortably in the top 100k. You're at the 50k mark. I mean, 10k is obviously the next kind of milestone, isn't it? So if you can finish somewhere between 10 and 50, you'd probably be quite happy with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. You know me, I want to win. It's never going to happen, but that is literally the dream. Like, I don't really care now at this point. It would have been nice for the 10k, but yeah, when you play this game so long ago and at the beginning you weren't even particularly focused, it's just like, oh, I wasn't even playing the game properly. I think I had a dead team and stuff. It's like, that's already on your record. I think I've talked about it before. If you've got a perfect, say you started playing in the last 4 or 5 years and played meticulously really well and your account was something to be really proud of, I can completely understand just going, right, I've got to finish as high as possible, make the optimal player every single week. I get it. But if you haven't got that, there's no real clout to be gained, I don't think, by finishing 70 or 30k. It makes pretty much no difference to me.
I mean, you look at this list though. I mean, people do talk about the 10k as being the what everyone kind of strives for, but it does seem like 100k now is the new top 10k.
It's like 11 million players or 12 million or something.
I mean,
mental.
the majority,
so much more engaged as well.
The majority of people in the great and the good are within the top 100k. There's just me, Mark, Neil, Matthew, Magnus, and Jeff outside of that. But there's only 3 managers in the top 10k out of this list, and this list is not to show off who are the best managers around. It's to show the people who people might know and people who've been playing the game for a long time. And I think top 100k now is just a great finish.
Absolutely. Top 100k is definitely very good. And I think top 50k, you can say it's been an excellent season.
All right. Blow your own horn, why don't
you? I'm out the 50k at the moment, but just today. Yeah, by 116. Or does that count? According to Andy, it doesn't count even with 50, 0, 0, 0.
Oh, God, let's not start all that again. Bloody hell. Yeah, interesting season. Yeah, let us know what you think, of the rank milestones and where you'd be happy to finish. Let us know in the chat where you are at as well. Obviously, yeah, Focal isn't in the great and the good. He's not having a great season. I think he's at around 400k or something like that. It's been I mean, we were talking off air, weren't we? I think this has been my least enjoyable season. It's not just because I'm doing badly. I found it hard to find players that do well. My highlight's probably been getting Matoma in early before he became like 100% template. I like doing things like that. I had that with Martinelli last year. That kind of pleases me when you find a player who goes on to be a staple in people's teams. But other than that, it's just been painful, hasn't it? I mean, you were saying your highlight was when you got to burn 2 transfers.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was doing well, I didn't particularly enjoy it. I'm conscious of being so negative all the time. I don't want to be negative. I know I'm old and grumpy, but yeah, this season hasn't been particularly fun for me. I know I've kind of tried to curb my crazy style of just taking hits all over the place, and I've still taken quite a lot. I think I've taken around -50 or something around there. So still, I think half of last season, so some progress, but still made hits when it sort of seemed like it suited it for my team. But even in the first 8-9 weeks, I think I was like 9-10K. I literally had opportunities to burn transfers every week. Like even that wasn't fun doing well
Yeah.
for me particularly. I can't really remember too many highlights. It's like I've had Salah for most of the season, and apart from towards the back end, that wasn't particularly fun. You know, a lot of people's seasons depended on how early they adopted Haaland and put the
Yeah,
armband on him and just
exactly.
left it.
Yeah.
That made so much difference in the beginning stages with all those hat tricks around. I
Yeah.
think you can point to a few little bits, like always, when you look over the season, which will have sort of made or break people's teams. And I think the period after the World Cup was chaos for sort of Man City, when they completely reconstructed their team. So Cancelo come with a new formation. Depending on who you back there, could have affected you big. Wilson in recent weeks has obviously just gone absolutely nuts. If you had him or not, it could have changed your whole season around. Some people have jumped up huge ranks. I think Watkins' little run, if you got on that or if you
Yeah,
didn't,
some went for Havertz, didn't they? Because it was 50-50 for a lot of people between those two. Yeah,
yeah,
there's been
probably
brutal
loads of them.
swings. Yeah, there's been brutal swings in a lot of decisions this season. And like you said, while you were burning transfers, I was having to take hits, to get in template players. And the second wild card that I waited for, as well, I ended up just getting a lot of players that people already owned, and
See, I think there's a lesson there because I've done that, right? I've been in that position many times before where I've said, right, I'm not going to start the season with Salah just because I
yeah,
hope that he just has a bad season. Everyone else has got him, and then I'll be up on nearly all the game. That was the logic. And 1 out of 20 seasons that might happen, and I might have a flyer. But the reality is, it's probably not going to work.
Well, I tried to do that with
And
Haaland, right? I'm going to give
yeah, that's
Haaland
what I'm saying.
6 weeks to kind of adjust to the league and see what happens, and it went as badly as it could well have been.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because then the price rises happen, like you say. You're having to
exactly.
take hits to get the same team as people.
Yeah,
And I don't mean just copy everyone at the beginning. If there's an obvious flaw in teams that you can see, then fair enough. But I think just being different for the sake of being different is not the play from the very beginning. Definitely.
yeah.
Now we're in game week 38. There's almost no reason not to do whatever the hell you want in the last game week.
It has taught me that because I think we both are markers. We're not people who like to just do what everyone else is doing and copy the kind of template things. But because there are so many people now, you kind of feel like the strategy at the start of the season does have to adapt a little bit, and being in the position to be able to adapt and move for players outside of the core template is an advantage if that template's doing quite well and staying strong. And I don't want to start a season next year with the same team as all the people on this list and everyone on Twitter and have them all. But
The problem is they're all good now.
they're
So
all
that
good.
they
Yeah.
it marries up. It's the template is good because good players are picking the template.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So it's not just avoiding the template for the
Yeah.
sake of doing it, or they're kind of one and the same. They marry up, don't they? It's like the field is very good at this game now. In general, there is so much content out there. I think how much content we're going to every year it's going to increase. Stormzy as we've seen recently, like literally, it's mad. And the beginning of the season, you're going to see a hell of a lot of content creators putting out their team, and they're going to be very close to review optimal team or whatever model you want to use as well. And there's a reason for that because the bookies odds suggest these are the best picks, and they probably quite a lot of them will be.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
And I think what Mark got wrong was when he kind of gave up about a third of the season in. He said, well, there's no way I'm going to get in the top 100k now. Just do this, this, and this. But I mean, it has shown over the last few weeks that if you can leave it late, ideally not until the last 3 game weeks of the season, but there are still big gains to make. The issue is, I think this year is because these doubles have been, they've been United, they've been City, they've been Brighton, they've been Liverpool had that one. Everyone just gravitates towards the same players, and it means we've ignored players, like Gibbs White, who's been doing well, or Eze, who you mentioned a few weeks ago. But we're just not going to move them because they had the singles, and we're still focusing on our double players.
No, and as good as they've been in real football, they still haven't. He's done well, Gibbs White, but goals and assists, it's still. Especially when you look at the pricing, there's just no reason to go there, is there, with fixture stuff? Like literally, it would be just to be different, essentially. So yeah, I mean, we just have to, and we've said it so many times, we have to just pray that the pricing is a little bit more strict next season.
Yeah, it has to be.
It gives us some choices because if I can just pick my 11 from the top 6 teams in the Premier League again, which I assume is going to be the case, that's not a particularly good look for me because that's what everyone will do. There's literally no reason
we
to
know,
pick
don't we?
yourself.
We know that Haaland was too cheap. We know that Rashford was too cheap. We knew that Martinelli was going to be too cheap, and those Arsenal players, like, they're going to see price rise. We shouldn't be able to have all of these players in our team. Yeah, the pricing. I think we say it every year, but it's so key. It's so key to the game that they get those prices right going into next season. They don't
I think
overprice players like Son and like make him an option because you want to take a punt on him. You're not going to pay 12 million for him.
no, there's no chance he'll be that now, is there?
No.
But I think the fixtures didn't help as well. That was a big thing this season. All the very best teams had ridiculously good fixtures as well.
Yep.
So what we kind of need is like Man City to have like the worst 6 opening games ever, just to even sort of put people off.
Yeah.
Stuff like that
Yep.
is kind of need to factor
Steve,
in.
Steve Elbows in the chat. I like this comment. I played Sinistera once and got -2.
I did the same.
Yeah.
I got in Sinistera this season. Literally, if I went through all my transfers, and any time you can look at one where it was slightly off-piste, because I was in and around it, I was doing okay. I thought I'd make a few little moves here or there. Lucas Digne, Siniestra, Rodrigo ahead of the double. Just got injured in a cup game. He came on as a sub for like the last 10 minutes in a cup game when they just didn't even need to play him, and he got injured for like 2 months or whatever it was. Ridiculous.
My favourite one was when I went Tony captain against Saka because I think he was playing Palace and he hadn't been doing too well. And he got, how many points did he get? 18. Saka got 18 points in that match, which is, he's only had one other game with a return in the last
Palace?
11. Yeah. He got 13 against Southampton. Every other game since then he's blanked. But he got 18 against Palace. And I went for Tony, you blanked. Stuff like that. It's been lots of examples. I remember when Pedro Neto was a template. Oh god, our game week 1 teams. I had Dean, I had Pedro Neto.
That'll happen again. And I know we're all saying this now. The same thing will happen again where players will look good on paper. They will have good value. They'll have good fixtures like Neto was. And they will be massive, like certain players will just be massive flops. You can't be helped. Literally every season that happens, you can go back and look at your game week 1 team and just think, what the hell was I doing there?
Can I just read you my game week 1 team? Just some of these players, right? Ward and Everson combo. That couldn't look on any worse. Dean,
and then he went brilliant.
Dean, Robertson, Perisic, Cancelo. They all look good at the start of the season. They've all been colossal failures. Mason Mount, the worst move I've ever made in my life. Pedro Neto, as well. I mean, Jesus Christ, no wonder I'm struggling this season when I pick those bunch of bloody jokers.
That's awful, yeah. Mason Mount, what season he's had?
I know.
Absolutely non-existent. Why did you go for Mason Mount? That one's strange.
I thought he would be, I thought he'd do all right. I thought he was a good looking 8 million asset. I mean, what do you reckon he ends up? Because it's not like he's going to stay on at Chelsea. Does he go to Arsenal? Does he go to Liverpool?
I'm not even going to bother guessing. I have no idea. I have no idea where he goes. We'll have to see. He's asked the same very interesting content. It's hilarious watching us moan and me moan. And,
if you're not here for some moaning, Disaster on Wheels, then also your name's very apt. You can't complain about us and have a name like that. It's just that's just not on. All right then. Well, Disaster on Wheels says where's Mark, and he wants us to move on. So we'll do what the viewers say. Let's move on to hopefully some more interesting. Let's try and find the teams and players that are going to get us that huge rank rise in Game Week 38. So this is the team data attack. Data over the last 6. We'll do a full review of this at the end of the season in the post show wash up the best teams in terms of the stats. Might give us a bit of a head start on next season. Team data attack. I've highlighted a few players here. I've highlighted Brentford in 3rd. Mbommo has absolutely smashed it. Obviously, very very small sample size, but comes straight in, gets a huge haul against Spurs. Brentford looking good attack wise and. Be interesting to see what happens to City tonight, because if they are just in the pub still, there could be points there. Last home game for Brentford.
I agree with that. Brentford have had a really good home record. I don't think they'll. I mean, Brentford they do it anyway. People have said that they're on the beach and stuff. They've still just tried to play their football, and I can't see that changing. Don't think the manager would even kind of allow that to dip. Nah. I think they'll give it a good go. Yeah, and Mboma is really interesting, is he? Because the season beforehand, he's like, 5 or 5.5 million midfielder. And he was in a lot of our teams. In fact, Mark's in the chat, and I remember Mark had him in his team.
Hit the post every week.
Yeah, it would work like 8-9 times or something crazy, didn't he? Very much flirting with being a really good option, because being up front, it didn't really happen for him. But you can see that there is a player there. Again, when we talk about luck or however you want to put it, the player is there, and in spades, he has done really well. So depending on what price he comes in, maybe he'll even be a midfielder again. because he is a forward this season, right? He went midfield or forward midfield, or I'm not sure what position he is this season, but
forward. Yeah,
he's out wide at the moment. With Tony's whole ban thing, I don't know if they'll try to be clever and make him a striker or whatnot, but presumably he'll be a midfielder again. And then he's on penalties as well, isn't he? So he is one for next season that could be good. And in game week 38, like you say, if Man City are just going to play, or even if they play a strong team, their record's good enough and their focus might be elsewhere anyway, because Man City just flat out don't have to win the game, do they? So he's only
23, only 23 in Bomo as well. He's got a bright future because he's a good player. He was taking some penalties last season as well when Tony wasn't around. I remember I had him when he scored one, and he's got that pace and he's got that strength, and he's going to be the one I think that they'll look to step up. With this Tony ban. So yeah, it'd be interesting to watch City tonight and see how they get on, and then potentially consider him as an option. Like I said, there are some forwards that we can look at this week. So we'll come on some of those. Elsewhere, some other teams. Leeds down in 13th. I mean, they need something, obviously, against Spurs in this final day. If you do subscribe to this narrative of on the beach teams and with something to play for and all this kind of stuff, I mean, it's all nonsense, isn't it, really? But Leeds have to win this game to have any chance of staying up. Spurs are bad, really bad, still conceding bucket load of goals. So you look at Sinisterra, look at Harrison. I mean, I think, has Bamford done his hamstring? I think he might have done.
I think someone was saying he's injured again. I think Rodrigo's even got a flag on him at the moment, but I think there's a chance he plays.
But in terms of looking at a team, so I was going to say, in terms of looking at a team with something to play for, surely it's Leeds and Leicester who are the ones that you consider. Leicester in 9th, but very negative setup against Newcastle.
Yeah, we've been through this before, though. I don't know if having something to play for even particularly matters. I think particularly this season, we've seen it where it just doesn't seem to have had pretty much any effect that I can think of in some of the games. Maybe you could point at Everton smashing Brighton 5-1 was part of it, but Brighton was still going for Europe at that point, and I think that's more just a shock result than anything else. Leicester have needed to win now for a very, very long time, and they still are totally crap most of the time. Do you think he's going to roll out the same formation he did last week with dropping Maddison and trying to go for a clean sheet?
I think he came out after that and he said, "Look, we're playing one of the best teams in the country at the moment at their stadium," and I think they played exactly like he wanted them to. They wanted one chance in the last minute to try and nick it 1-0. And they got it. It's exactly what happened. And Pope made it. Yeah,
well, that's why I think does he maybe try that again? Because in terms of going for a result, that's probably they got a result of sorts, but coming close to the result he wanted, it's probably the closest they've been for a while. So I don't think he will.
No, my guess would be, just try and survive that game and then get the point like they did, or nick it, and then West Ham are going to rotate, aren't they, heavily in this match? Given they've got
maybe, but isn't it a long way away, that fixture? I think someone in the chat might know, but I think it might be several days. In fact, I might just Google it. And they might do the whole Pep ribbon thing rather than rest their team. But I suppose, there's still the option to protect players from injury full stop, right? If you get someone injured in a pointless game, there's that to factor in. So it's the 7th of June, the game they play. So that's 28th of May.
A while away. Yeah.
So I don't think they need to rest anyone. It would be more just to protect them if they do.
Yeah.
You could argue he plays the full team he wants to play in the final in that one. Yeah. This is the point. I think you can create any narrative you want for a lot of these fixtures. We just don't know at the end of the day.
Yeah,
what's going to happen?
I just think if you're looking for a team with something to play for, there aren't a huge amount. It looks like a lot of the places have been settled, unless Man U lose to Chelsea tomorrow. Then you've got Liverpool with something more to play for. But we all know that game against Southampton is good for them anyway. But Leeds and Leicester potentially are the ones where. But it doesn't, just because they've got something to play for doesn't necessarily mean they're going to score loads of goals, right? It could be a really nervy, anxious performance where they just try and get one goal and see the game through.
See, my whole thing is, I think having home team players, I mean, we know that home over away is a general advantage in football, full stop. It's been that way for a long, long time. COVID kind of showed us a little bit the opposite when there was no crowds. And even just if you look at Team XG, for example, for the season, and I've got it up here, I was looking at it earlier. If you look at home XG for the season, there's 8-9 teams which are above 30. And then if you look at away, there's only Man City that are above 30, and that's 32. So there is definitely more chances to be out at home for teams, especially the better teams. So to me, just going for home teams on the final day where it's kind of a bit of a celebration, a party, kind of makes sense. The one exception I want to throw that there is probably Liverpool. I really fancy Liverpool for this week.
Yeah.
But I think like anything, it's not just trying to predict the result and the goals and stuff. It's which players are actually going to get the minutes to be on the pitch and play with the whole five subs thing.
Yeah.
It's like literally any option you can think of right now. We think, oh, it could be a really good pick. Like, I don't know, Jesus, Trossard, people at home to Arsenal. Well, what's to stop them using their squad like
Yeah, well,
during the game and
exactly.
giving?
I know. I mean, we're going to be looking for lineups and leaks and things, aren't we, on Sunday, given all the games at the same time. If Nketiah comes in, for example, against Wolves, he could be an interesting pick. If Danny Ings plays against Leicester, that's an interesting pick as well. They're risky options, but they're going to be so low owned that they're the kind of ones we're going to be looking for. I mean, I just wanted to mention Palace and Forest, because these are two teams that people are looking at, particularly Eze, who, as I said, is the poster boy of this stream. He is being bought in absolute droves. I'm not going to afford him, I don't think. My plan
My
was
tip a few weeks ago as well.
I
Before the
know.
points, and I didn't get him.
I know. I wanted to do McAllister to Eze, but I'm 0.1 off because McAllister hasn't risen despite being at like 99% on the FPL statistics all this time. So that's not going to happen. But they're down in 16th and Forest are down in 18th. So the stats don't paint a picture that this is going to be a goal fest. But there does seem to be quite a big consensus out there at the moment that there are going to be a lot of goals in this game.
Yeah, I suppose again it's kind of just the home vibe for Palace has been pretty good, isn't it? And Forest now it's almost like I suppose the narrative is the mental part of the game has now dropped. They're safe now. That's happened. There's been a massive effort to get there. And it's like they've been terrible away all season, let's not forget. I know they've improved recently, but they have been terrible. I mean, Mark's in the chat, maybe he can say what he expects there to be there, but I would imagine there's at least like the party almost for Forest or the equivalent of what we've been City doing. You'd imagine Forest have been doing something probably quite similar. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the narrative that Palace just turn up and have fun, and basically Forest don't need to care about anything. So I do like Awanoe though. Again, for it, he just looks like he could score in any game at the moment. So
He's
I think
probably
he's.
going to be my transfer this week.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Okay.
he probably is. That's the levels that I'm at. I mean, his points in the last 5 games have been incredible. One blank in the last 5. Away at Brentford, tricky game, but double digit hauls against Southampton and Chelsea, and then scored again the winner against
I,
Arsenal.
I think it's already written in the stars, by the way, that Eze won't do anything and Jordan Ayew will score a hat trick or something like that.
Yeah,
Like, he just,
or Elise or someone. Yeah, it's too good. It's one of these ones, isn't it, where it's just too good to be true. Eze
yeah,
with the home game in the final day of the season, great.
on
Stats
pens.
on pens. No way is he getting a haul. Hopefully, so good. The defense, team data defense. I mean, West Ham are right down the bottom here. They're in 18th. So you've got to imagine that would be even worse. I mean, their expected goal conceded non-penalty penalty is 1.92. That's effectively with their strongest team. If they do make wholesale changes, then there could be goals in that for Leicester. Wolves are right down there, 2.07. Really tricky away match at Arsenal. Arsenal have been poor the last 2 games, but they'll want to send off the fans, won't they, with a good performance. And I can see them winning that game pretty comfortably. But right down the bottom, Southampton, 2.14, and playing Liverpool. There's goals in that for them.
Yeah, I think the Arsenal versus Wolves game and the Liverpool versus Southampton game probably stand out the most just because they feature, top teams that are playing really, really bad teams. And that sounds the basics of fantasy football is actually bringing it back to forget the fact that it's all, chaos in 38 and anything can happen. If you just bring it back to the basics, Arsenal good, Wolves bad, Liverpool good, Southampton bad. And it's just like, okay, let's try.
Sometimes it's as easy as that. Yeah.
Sometimes it is as easy as that. And you just think, okay, the problem, like I already mentioned for me, is which players are going to last. And I know you don't have to get 90 minutes, like someone can play for less than that and do fine. Which players from Liverpool and Arsenal are actually going to see the whole time out? Because I think they've got so many good options in their front, especially particularly Liverpool front line. Is there any reason not to play? I mean, Darwin Núñez is apparently training. He's barely played of late. They've got Firmino. They could potentially give another goodbye game of sorts. You're not Diaz is coming back from training, from injury and played a lot recently. I think it's quite tricky. So we're in the position where we're probably going to be waiting on leaks and stuff, but you could quite easily go for a punt and end up with a cameo performance for one of the people there. That's the slight worry, isn't it? And I think with Arsenal, the fact that Martinelli's out, isn't he? So it's going to be, I would imagine it will be Trossard, Jesus, Saka, but then you've already mentioned Nketiah, you've got Nelson. You've got other players
Mm.
that haven't played much this season. They've got nothing to play for. So I imagine they'll either come on or maybe even start at some point
Yeah,
and
I mean
limit those
Smith
minutes.
Rowe, Vieira, these are all
Smith
players
Rowe,
that haven't
yeah.
played at all. They'll be able to play. I mean, it's probably Chaka's last performance, isn't it? So could he be a good option? Maybe they give him a pen or something. Again, we
Yeah.
love the narrative, don't we, of a last game.
Well,
To
that's
players.
another point though. It's penalties. I think this season this game week, you might see a bit of
Mm,
funky business go on. Like for example, if Milner starts for Liverpool, can you even guarantee that Salah will take the penalty?
no, but then is Southampton? He's probably already scored 5 before.
This is true. This is why actually, out of all the options we're going to talk, and there's loads of good punts out there for sure. Harry Kane just still appeals for the fact that they're playing Leeds. You just know out of everyone that potentially could get rotated, it's not happening for him, especially with his best mate in charge. He's going to
Well,
be on the pitch for 90 minutes
Haaland
and
to
he's not going to let
Kane.
anyone take pens, is he?
Haaland to Kane. Let's deal with that now. We're on completely the wrong screen for it. I'm going to put it back to attack just so it makes a little bit more sense. Haaland to Kane. Is that an option this week, do you reckon?
I think it's 100% an option. We don't know who'll play. My personal view is he probably will play. I don't think they care about the whole records thing, but obviously he could get it even higher than it is. It's more about the rhythm factor. Apparently he's starting tonight, by the way. I don't know if you've seen Rockstar's tweeted out. So apparently he's playing.
Mm.
It is 7 days, I think it is, until the cup after that. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to go and look. Someone will correct me. But it's the last game before the big tournaments. And I think you'll want to get them back into some sort of gear. At the end of the day, the game is the best practice. It's better than training, isn't it? Doesn't mean it'll be completely full strength all over, but I do think Haaland will probably play substantial minutes in that game. So that's the only worry. Doing him out at any point is absolutely terrifying.
He's
But
not.
yeah, I
He's not a
think
captain though for us, is he? I mean, he will. I mean, he will be.
he
Don't get
could
me
be.
wrong. His EO is going to be over 100%, but Salah is, to me, is a better option than Haaland.
I think I agree.
Yeah, I
I
guess
think I agree,
if you
but
know
both could
if you know
easily
he
play
starts,
70.
yeah, if you know he starts and plays 70, then it's always going to be tempting. Anyway, we'll come on to him in a sec. Let's go to keepers. I don't think there's going to be many keeper options. There's certainly many keeper transfers being made.
You say that, it might be my.
Well, we
The
might see.
robot says that's my favourite move.
Yeah, well, the only reason I even wanted to mention this is because Ortega is top of the points per 90 with his 2 starts and 9 points. And Everson, he might be called upon, right? Because if we do see some funky second choice goalkeepers coming into the final day, then Everson might be called on. His points haven't been great, but
Danny
at least
Ward says hello.
wow, that's not going to happen, is it? Not with it all to play for against West Ham, and they've shown that they can get a clean sheet at least. So there might be some. Yeah, I just think if you've got Everson as your second sub, I don't think you need to be messing around with a goalkeeper. I think he's probably fine for this week.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, my top move when I stick it through review is actually to do a goalkeeper. I'm not doing that. I don't care. I've got Kepa and Raya. I'm not sure Kepa would even play. Raya's playing Man City. Like, I'm not getting any points out of either of them. Am I? Maybe some saves from Raya. But I'm not going to make the transfer for a goalkeeper. It's just far too boring. I'm just going to have to stick with what I've got. Even if I end up with 0, I get 2 most weeks out of my goalkeeper anyway. I'm just not particularly bothered. I'm going to try and do something else. I imagine everyone else will be in the same situation. Like, literally, what position could you be in? I suppose what happens if you get a leak, right? That both of your goalkeepers aren't playing. You just do a hit, right, and just get whoever you want. Is that what you do?
Yeah, pretty much.
Just risk it that they pull a
risk
worldie.
I think you have to. Yeah, we've got the lineups. Brighton's lineup is just absolutely ridiculous. Still Colwill, Gross, Welbeck, Enciso, Matoma. All sounds fine so far. Casado, Gilmore, Van Heck, Estepinian and Buonanotte. No McAllister in the lineup.
Again.
No Dunk, who I've got. Missing his first game of the season in a match where I actually need any point I can take. No Ferguson as well, despite scoring a couple of goals for them. And no Veltman, which probably means Casado back at right back. I mean, that's not a good team. Where City could go absolutely wild, even with their team. Their team is Ortega in goal, Walker Stones, Rodrigo Lewis. I wish I was playing him. Gundogan, De Bruyne, Bernardo, Mahrez, Foden and Haaland. So no Alvarez after all that. Doesn't play. Surely sees some minutes. Mahrez and Foden on the wings. I mean, it's a pretty strong team from City, right? Gundogan, De Bruyne, Bernardo, Mahrez, Haaland.
That's basically their Champions League attacking players, isn't it? It's just Grealish, obviously, not in any condition to start this game, I would have thought. So him for Foden, and that's pretty much their attacking lineup that they play. in the Champions League and the Cup in the best game. So I think a lot of the defenders, as you can see, and they haven't got them on the bench. They went off during the game, and he did save Nichols and stuff. I think those they've actually might genuinely have some injuries rather than actually be drunk, which maybe Pep will say in a minute. But yeah, so it's a fairly strong team apart from the defence, really. But I mean, again,
well, honestly, we could get absolutely battered in this match.
Why is McAllister not playing? I literally reconstructed my entire plan for the last 5 weeks to get McAllister because March got injured, and the guy is just not playing now. Is it because he's moving team? Like what?
I
the
would
hell?
assume so. I think there's already an agreement in place with Liverpool, and it's reliant on him not getting an injury of 8 months or whatever. And the fee for him is going to be absolutely enormous, 80-90 million pounds. It's money that we can't really afford to lose. So if his head's turned and the transfer's kind of almost been agreed, then I guess that's the reason. But it really is a weak team. I mean, I can't believe Dunk missing out. I mean, I literally got Estepinian. I literally got Dunk over Estepinian because I thought in one of these doubles Estepinian would miss out, and it's frigging Dunk.
Did you see his comment? I don't know when it was, but I saw something on Twitter about Dunk maybe having a slight knock or something, or being tired. So I guess that's
he
what
says
it
he's been playing through calf and back problems, I think. And he's just had the call up to England, so I guess they don't want to cause any jeopardy with that. But yeah, just end this season, please. Let's look at defence over the last 6. Let's try and find some gems here. Mina scored the last-minute goal against Wolves to kind of keep the fate in their own hand. I mean, talk about last-minute important goals. Massive for him. He is third on the list of defenders in terms of XG non-penalty per 90 over the last 6 weeks. He's an option, isn't he? I mean,
Mina.
Yeah, you've got to think Everton are going to keep that tight. They're at home, and they've obviously got the set piece threat with their centre backs.
They've got the best clean sheet odds this week of all teams, which is quite, I don't know, hard to believe when it's Everton, right? But it's because of Bournemouth, isn't it? More than anything, just above Arsenal. So you combine that, so there's not many people buying defenders this week, but a cheap defender with the best clean sheet odds, and he has got a goal threat, and we know that. Even before he could Premier League, he scored. I can remember Applebonk was always tweeting about him. Mina was like some absolute demon.
I know. I remember when he signed, he was...
he was sort of saying he scored 7 goals in a season once or something crazy. The only thing is he's probably just as much likely to get a red card as he is a goal. The guy is like walking chaos. He gets in fights all the time, yellow cards and stuff. So that would slightly terrify me. But actually, when I ran my team through review just before going online, Mina had come out as my top option this week.
Really?
To do I can't even say his name. Estupinian. To Mina. So that's probably what I may end up doing, to be honest. Cheering on an Everton clean sheet. Yay.
Oh God, I know. That's the lengths that we're going to go to. I mean, I've got Pedro Porro in as my differential of choice.
I like that.
I
like that again this week.
Didn't even bloody play in the last game.
No, I suppose that's the problem. He may not play again, but
yeah. I mean, I've got Rico now, who's started to. I can't believe he's started to. That's crazy. We got Trent in 5th. We know that how good he is. You really don't want to be going into this game week against Southampton without him, despite him only getting the 1 point in the last week. Robertson, I've highlighted as well. He's 18th on the list. I mean, doubling up with the Liverpool defence could be an option. Southampton do find a way, don't they, to score the odd annoying goal.
They do. I mean, it's fine. Do whatever you want. It's game week 38, but I wouldn't be looking to get a defender in this week away from home if I could help it. I don't even want to do the defender with Mina, but may not have no other option. But yeah, I don't think you do defender transfers this week if you can help it.
No.
I think literally maybe like Gabriel, maybe Mina. There's not many others that I can think of that scream, massive points. I suppose Man United at home to Fulham. Like if you haven't got Luke Shaw, as boring as that also sounds, because nearly everyone has him, like they probably look pretty good for a clean sheet, I would say. And Shaw just absolutely shits bonus, doesn't he? So you could easily have an 8 or a 9 pointer there.
That guy kills me as well. the bonus points he gets. And then you see in the week as well, he was like, he got an injury in the warm up, and they were like getting Malacia ready, and then Shaw plays anyway and gets the 9 points or whatever it was. Yeah, he's I mean the Fulham game, you're right. The Fulham game looks good. Shaw isn't actually on this list. He's not in the top 30. In terms of expected,
it's because he's been centre back a lot.
Because he's been at centre back, he's obviously got more threat when he plays.
Yeah, but he takes some corners and stuff as well. So
Yeah, I think
it's what helps his bonus is the passing completion and the fact that he takes a lot of corners and
Yep.
stuff, and obviously gets the attempted. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I think you're right though. I think defence is probably not an area we're going to be targeting unless you look really strong as well. God, that McAllister to Eze move has just gone up another gear now with people, isn't it? It's just going to be so popular, that move. Eze doesn't feature particularly highly on the list though over the last 6 of expected goal but non-penalty per 90. Obviously he has the penalties, which massively help, but he's 45th on the list in terms of open play, 0.33. So in line with some of those defenders like Mina that we talked about. I mean, there's quite a few players here that I've highlighted. I mean, Fernandez is just, I've just highlighted him because his stats are just really, really good, but continues to kind of dodge points for us. Another blank for him there. Salah is 6th, 0.68. He's going to be a really popular captaincy option. Son in 7th versus Leeds.
Yeah, I don't mind it, to be honest. I know he's been generally pretty woeful all season, not just in terms of points, in terms of his performance. But I think when you go for a punt, maybe we're influenced slightly by the fact they cost a lot of money, but there's players like Son and Sterling that we know they're that price because they have been ridiculously good in previous seasons and they have that ability to get braces and hat-tricks and stuff. So they do appeal in a week like this where you just think, well, what do I care? If you bring him in, he could easily just return one of those huge hauls. So, yeah, Leeds are obviously dreadful defensively. So I think it's fine as a Hail Mary. Like, I'm not in a position where I can do that. The only way I could do that would be selling Salah, which I'm obviously not going to do. But I think if your team's set up in a way where you can get him quite easy, I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for a lot of people, I think, if they've got Fernandes, Salah and Haaland, like a lot of us do have. Maybe you just accept Fernandes is never going to get any points ever again, and you try and look at that switch to Son and captain him, which again I don't hate. I know it's a good home fixture for United, but it's a highly owned player, and you're taking the punt with someone else. Trossard's on this list. He's in 11th, 0.54. He looks a great punt, I think, for this final day. He's the kind of player who will get you 1 point or 25.
Yeah, I do like him. I just come back to the fact that if we think Nketiah is going to get some minutes, what we've seen in previous seasons is, I keep saying seasons, but I mean games. Previous games is that Jesus moves over to the left wing and they take off Trossard even when Martinelli's not playing. So I imagine you're probably going to get 70 minutes out of Trossard again. Jesus go left wing.
Yeah, potentially.
So that's my only thing that kind of holds me back. But you can point out so many players this week that they might not get 90 minutes. You know, this whole minutes thing is a complete guess. So he still would feature highly in like the options this week, Trossard, without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, his stats aren't that impressive. I mean, his XGI isn't bad, but he's not in the top 10 for shots per 90, chances per created, XG, non-penalty per shot. I mean, obviously, he's only had a couple of starts in that period, just the 2 starts. So you're hoping for a complete reversal. I mean, Maddison, his stats are good. I know he didn't play in the last game. There is no way Dean Smith isn't going to play Maddison in this match. He'll definitely start. I mean, he's in the top 10 for shots per 90, for chances created. His XG non-penalty per 90 is good, 0.59. I don't mind him as an option this week, Maddison.
Yeah, I think he'll be like if you had a free hit team, I guess that's the way to look at it. 38, and you wanted to be different, so you weren't just picking, triple Liverpool, triple Man United, whatever, triple Arsenal. Then Maddison's in there, isn't he? Like, as bad as they've been, and he's not been great points wise. You'd find a place for Maddison in that setup, I think.
You got
yeah, him or Vardy anyway, I suppose, would be one of the punts he'd probably be willing to take.
Yeah, I mean, or Barnes didn't play either. I think he's probably less likely to definitely come back in. Does that make sense? Less likely to... He's not certain to play, whereas Maddison probably is, depending on the system that Smith goes with. I mean, Barnes is down in 42nd anyway. I mean, the Arsenal mids are struggling. Odegaard's in 38th, 0.36. Saka, 0.34. Again, is this the week that Saka just gets one of his rare double-digit hauls? What's happened to him FPL-wise in the sort of third part of this season?
Yeah, it's hard to explain, really. He's definitely had a bit of a dip, but I think Arsenal's fixtures definitely got worse. That's why we all got rid of them. The fixtures do play a big part. He hasn't got lucky and got some penalties and stuff. I mean, he's been playing okay. I haven't watched him and thought he's just been dreadful. It's just... every player goes through a little bit of a dip, right? And even if you do want to look at the mental side, obviously Arsenal players probably affected at the moment by that, being so close to the league. I think he's a fine punt this week, though. I mean, he's one of those players, again, where we'd expect him to get close to 90, and he has got those penalties, so he can easily just sign off with a huge haul, definitely.
Yep.
A player I do actually really like on that list who's 21st is Gakpo. I just, again, come back. I don't know whether he'll start, but having the midfielder who potentially plays up front versus
Yeah.
Southampton final day,
Yep.
like he is a player who could get a huge haul. I just don't know whether how much he's going to play.
One of these players is going to haul this week. One of them. It's just about finding the
Well,
right
yeah,
one. We won't get it
someone will.
right, but one of
No,
them, one of them's going to hit it hard.
Wang.
Wang, yeah, probably. I had him last season. I miss him. Forwards, there are some options here. I've highlighted quite a few over the last 6. So I'm going to be making a forward move. I'll be getting Isak out and bringing in one of these guys. I think some of the ones I've highlighted, Vardy, you mentioned. He's playing up front. He does have 2 goals and an assist in his last 5. He's expensive, though. He's 9.1. He's not someone that I could kind of easily move for. 9.1 for Vardy. I think one of the things with FPL this season, like the prices have just been like Calvert-Lewin. I remember a few weeks ago I looked at Calvert-Lewin and he was like 8 million, and I was like, why the hell is he 8 million? Vardy, it's still at 9.1. It feels like there should be some. It'd be good if they could adjust it a bit, wouldn't it? Because he's not a 9.1 million player.
Maybe linked to ownership. Maybe you drop a lot faster if you haven't got ownership or something high.
Or even just performance.
Well, that'll be tied in though, won't it?
Yeah.
Because you've got nobody to own him if they're not
if
doing
you're
well.
literally not playing, or if you're not owned, then your ownership drops considerably. Because if he was down at 7 million, for example, it'd be quite a fun punt this week. But
I think a large part of that, especially with the forwards, though, is considering the year we had last year, right, where forwards were just absolutely awful. I think if you take ourselves back to the beginning of the season, everyone said that forwards were too expensive again, and the midfielders and the defenders were too cheap. Now this season it didn't necessarily work out like that. Forwards have done quite a lot better, and defenders in particular have been woeful. But that's a big part of it. You've still got the pricing that was just a little bit of an error on a lot of the strikers that were just overpriced from the beginning of the game, and it's that middle bracket of strikers is pretty much been redundant for several years now. There'll always be like 1 or 2, or maybe some will come in for a little period, like Watkins has this season. Even Tony was like just underneath, right? Did he start at 6.5 or something? Maybe?
no, he was 7.
He was 7.
He was
okay,
a bit more. Yeah.
you could probably include him in it then. But outside that middle bracket is usually like a complete dead zone for forwards. Very rare that we find one that actually is pretty good season long. You either go Kane, Haaland, or you go right down and get a sheepy, right? And it's just they need to do something about it to make them more appealing.
Absolutely, and particularly the start of the season when the defenders were priced kind of around the same, cheaper. It's like, who do you get, like Trent or Calvert-Lewin? So there was no real decision. I know Trent didn't have the season that we expected him to have, especially for the first part, but we weren't considering those sort of upper mid-price forwards because the midfielders and defenders were just so much better value. A lot of them. Yeah, absolutely. There's other options here. We've talked about Mbomo. I like him as a punt. 4 goals and 2 assists in his 5 starts. We've got Kane as a potential captaincy option. I spoke about him on the FPL pod earlier in the week, and we talk about good decisions. My best parts of this season have been when I've had Kane. Simple as getting those like 8 to 10 points every week has been great. And 2 or 3 times I've taken him out to try and see if the grass is greener on the other side, and it's led to a load of red arrows, and it clearly hasn't been. So if you've stuck with him through this, I think he's had his best season ever in FPL. He's been an absolutely amazing asset, and it's a game against Leeds to come. So good looking game for him.
Absolutely, just the whole thing I said about the 90 minutes nailed on and pens just is so appealing. I've had him, I think, 1 game week this entire season, and that was on free hit. So that has been a big, I suppose, error or blind spot is just not having Kane in my team the whole season. Basically, had Salah over him pretty much. That's been the compromise.
Yeah.
And that hasn't worked out particularly well for most of the season, to be fair. I think in this back end of the season, Kane still continued to do well, but Salah's at least matched him or done better. But certainly that sort of first 2/3, Kane was just relentless, ridiculous.
Alvarez as well. The benching tonight might keep his ownership down a little bit more as well. So he's an interesting punt, I think, going into the final week. Again, we don't know what team Pep's going to put out. I think it's pretty unlikely Alvarez will be benched again, though, right? I would expect him to start.
Well, I don't know. If you expect him to go for the team that's going to play in the Cup and the Champions League, then he wouldn't play, would he? So I don't know. It's anyone's guess at the moment. This is the whole point. Obviously, people come to me for the Man City teams, and as soon as you throw out, tactics and stuff, and there's nothing to play for, it is literally. In a lot of situations, who's the freshest? So anything goes, really. I would expect he probably doesn't play, but He
Really?
could play all
Okay.
of them.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he could play Alvarez, De Bruyne, and Haaland. He's been doing that in recent weeks, and then rest
Mm,
Gundogan in the other 8 spot. I think the thing is with Alvarez to be a really good option, you kind of need him as centre forward. I think
yeah.
we saw he did score that worldie. I think who was it versus Leeds maybe, and got that 12 pointer. And he scored last week when he was in the 9. When he plays in the 8 role, don't get me wrong, he's still a good option at that price, but he's nowhere near as good as an option as a centre
Mm,
forward. I don't think because he's also actually second in line. If you say Haaland's first on penalties, then you've got Mahrez probably second. Alvarez has taken a penalty as well. He
mm.
does take them, so he would be third. So suddenly, if you take Haaland out of the equation, he's playing as 9. He's in the shout for pens because you can't say Mahrez will definitely be on the pitch. He just becomes a ridiculously good option. But can you see Haaland not playing Brentford now? I think he probably does play him right. So
Well, if I get any news that Alvarez plays up front in the 9 role, then he would probably be my transfer, I think. Um, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Iheanacho is an 18th. Again, he's banking on Leicester scoring some goals in this. I mean, he did get subbed quite early. He's the one that's likely to get subbed. But he's a good
well,
player.
does he
And
even start?
well, this is it. It's a tricky one. I think a lot of these players, you're not going to go for unless you get some confirmed knowledge that they are gonna start.
Yeah, and he's going to get subbed, like you say. I just don't. I'd love to go there. Like, tell me 90 minutes in Nacho. That makes sense to do that.
I
For
mean, I
me,
want
it's
Ings. I want Ings, Luke. 6.3 million. You
I
know,
don't have a good relationship with Ings. Every time I get him, he just gets injured or does nothing. In fact, that
like
season I talked about where I didn't go with Salah, I actually went with Ings captain twice. And
yeah.
in the opening 5 weeks, and what was funny is the 2 weeks I captained him, he blanked, and the 3 weeks either side, he got braces or something like that. It was mad. He doesn't like me, so I'm not
No, I
going.
mean I expect him to start because Antonio's knees may be a bit dodgy. Although he hasn't had an injury in a while, but I'd expect Ings to start that game, and maybe the occasion gets too much for Leicester and West Ham win that. And the only other player I want to mention is Awoniyi as well. He's in 25th. I mean, his stats aren't great. I mean, XG non-penalty per 90 of 0.29. It's not like crazily high. He hasn't got pens because Gibbs White takes them. His conversion is 41.7%, which is ridiculously high. But he's in the top 10 for shots in the box per 90. But he's just getting points. He's just in that zone where points are just flooding to him. 7.48 points over the last 6. Like I said, 2 double-digit returns in the last 4. He's on my list.
I think Callum Wilson deserves a mention as well. I know they're away to Chelsea, but I don't have to convince you how bad Chelsea have been. He's right at the top of the list, is Callum Wilson. So I think if you've got him, like a lot of people, you're just not going to move him out. I'd start him in that game. I
Yeah.
think he's still one of the best forward picks this week. Yeah, I don't know. I do like though. I think if the lineups come up in the way that I expect them to do, then Isak to a forward is, alongside maybe that Mina move are like my 2 options. It just depends which forward's going to start. It's really annoying for me because I'm working on that day, and I suppose other people will be in certain situations where they. I don't know if you've enjoyed it this season, but literally waiting around for team leaks
Oh
because
God, I
because
know.
we're so sad and we want an advantage. Like
Oh,
it's just painful, isn't it? I don't want to have to do it. I know I could just ignore it, but why am I not going to take advantage of information
I
if it's out
know.
there? And I don't know if I'm going to be in the position to do it. Think how many random leaks we get. Not just do. Usually, when you have like 2 teams playing in one game, the amount of random crap that you see out there, we've got every single team from every game playing. Like even just taking on all the information from all those teams and working out which
You've
leaks
got
are
to
correct and
just,
not.
you've got to
It's like
just.
a full-time job.
I know you just got to block out the day. There's nothing else you can do unless you've got work or just something you can't get out of. I mean, there's been times when I haven't like left the house because I'm sat by the front door waiting for the team leads to come
Ridiculous,
in.
isn't it?
It's absolutely, it's so sad. It really is. It does make you question a whole host of whole host of things playing this game. Got one more chart to show. This is player data since the restart. This is organised by XG on Penny per 90. Just 5 starts for Eddie Nketiah, but he is top of this list. 6 points per 90 when he plays. He's ahead of Nunes and Haaland on 0.94. Nunes would be really fun if he starts. Surely he's got one massive haul in him. It'd be just like him to leave it till game week 38. But I don't think that's going to happen. His points per 90 though, 2.75. Just 3 starts for him. At the start of the season, people were talking about him being a better signing than Haaland, weren't they? I think that's
They
been,
were, and then I think a few went really early on him, and he got the red card,
yeah.
which kind of ended his season pretty much at that point.
Do you think he's going to make it at Liverpool?
I think he will. I mean, I know he looks cumbersome, and I suppose the biggest issue with him is Klopp really wants his players to be able to press, doesn't he? That's the thing that's kind of put the nail in the coffin, because the players that generate such high level of chances in XG are really, really hard to come by. So you just know there is a player in there that can score a bucket load of goals if things just fall for him. Like we saw it before he signed for Liverpool. He had a ridiculous season. Um, so yeah, I think it's possible. It's just the whole thing with the way they got their success back, started performing well, is he flooded pressers into his team and he moved Trent into midfield as well. Obviously, the combination of those two things seem to have just changed Liverpool's season around. So does he just suddenly start playing Darwin, who doesn't press as much? I think probably not. So he probably needs to get that out of him. I mean, Diaz come back from injury, right, and has pretty much nailed down that left spot again. So he's going to be interesting next season. So if you've got Diaz and Salah on the sides, you've only got that one spot up top. I appreciate Firmino's going, but then you've got Gakpo, Jota, and Nunes all to fit into that space. So it just doesn't look like he's going to be an option for now. We'll have to wait and see. But unfortunately, it looks like we won't be allowed to go there.
Just realised the stats on that table are completely wrong. Hasn't been updated. So
okay.
You can blame Mark.
Well, Nketiah at the top, we both talked about him. If we get a leak Nketiah starts, I think that's who I'm going to go for.
Yeah, I mean, Nketiah hasn't had many starts. I think that was that table just needs a refresh. It's only capturing a couple of games, but if Nketiah starts, he is an option. I mean, Harrison as well. We talked about the Leeds players, potentially going for one of those. I mean, Casemiro I highlighted as well. I mean, he's done all right, isn't he? He reminds me of remember that Leicester player, that Italian guy they had when they won the league? No, the league before they won the league.
Sorry, you've lost me.
The really famous, not Casemiro. Someone will know in the chat. The Leicester guy.
I missed the beginning part.
Oh, I was just saying, Casemiro reminds me because he's a DM, right? But he finds a way to score goals. And he's like
Pirlo.
No, played for Leicester when they got.
I thought you said...
Played for Leicester when they.
I missed that part.
Cambiasso, thank you.
Oh, Esteban Cambiasso. He's Argentinian. I thought you said he was Italian.
I did.
He's Argentinian.
Well, he played in Italy.
He played for Inter Milan, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Cambiasso, thank you.
And Real Madrid and.
Because he was kind of a weirdly good option for us, wasn't he? Because he would play really defensively, but he had a knack of finding a way and scoring a goal. And Casemiro, I mean, how many goals has Casemiro got this season? It feels like he's scored quite a few.
Yeah, I think he's done all right. Probably around four or five. I think something around that in all competitions. Anyway, don't think he's got that many in the league, but yeah, it's those kind of deep midfielders that we've seen before that break into the box late can find the net, and he's one of them, I suppose, that can. I don't think he did it. I must admit, I don't know his career in great detail, but it never struck me as a player who scored goals in the sort of Real Madrid and stuff.
No,
but he seems to have found the knack of finding the net here, and he is dead cheap.
He's only got 3 goals. I thought he had more than that, to be fair.
Okay, 3 goals. Yeah, he scored like overhead kicks and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It feels like he scored like good goals and he scored really important goals, but it's not actually that many. But again, he's maybe a cheap option if you're because I mean the Fulham at home game, you'd expect United to win that. Manchester United. Got some calling United. I keep getting told off by Newcastle fans, and they are completely right. Mark says, "What is this table? You didn't tell me to update it. I thought you updated all the tables. I didn't realise you were picking and choosing which tables to update, Mark. Honestly, can't get the staff these days." Anyway, ignore this table and everything we said over the last 5 minutes. Fixtures. So these are predictions for the final game week of the season. We will run through these. Arsenal Wolves, I've gone for 2-0. You've gone for 3-1, even though you've got your Kiwi Or.
Yeah, I'm not expecting any. I mean, if you look at all my predictions already, you can see I've predicted 1 clean sheet. It's usually a goal fest on the final day. Doesn't mean it will be. I just hope it is for some fun. And yeah, Arsenal are definitely one of the teams in the frame. Like I say, I think they're second highest chance of a clean sheet this week, but it's still below 50%. Things like 40% maybe. So more chance they concede than don't. So I'll go for Arsenal home win. Probably ship a goal.
Yeah, we talked about them plenty over this episode, but. You know, Nketiah, I like Trossard. I do like Saka and players like this week. I think this should be a routine home win for Arsenal. I know it hasn't really been like that from the last few weeks, but I can't imagine Wolves putting up too much of a fight. Arsenal with a much better team. Villa Brighton, we've both gone for a Villa win. I'm incredibly not confident about this. I think Villa are better than us in a lot of ways. I know they don't play as stylishly as we do, but they're more effective a lot of the time in how they do use the ball. Oh, this is it. Hang on. This is it. I'm me saying how great Villa are again. This is weird. Hey, go on, Villa. I do always give them a win. I think
I
they
do.
beat us. I like Watkins this week.
The thing with Brighton is if they turn up and they play the way they do, they can beat literally anyone, can't they? So it is a hard game to call. But I think probably me having Watkins has gone in my favour of sort of hoping that Villa end up winning. But when you think of the kind of player Watkins is and the way Brighton play, you just think that Watkins on the shoulder, he might be able to break through on their defence in the transitions and cause some mayhem. That's what I'm hoping for. But whether it happens or not, we'll see.
Brentford City. I've gone for a Brentford win here. You've gone the opposite direction. Very much dependent on the team City put out. Obviously, if you're right and City go Champions League final team, I would expect them to beat Brentford, but I still think there's going to be quite a bit of rotation, so I've just gone for a Brentford win at home to nick it in front of their fans.
Yeah, I think they probably score. They usually do, Brentford at home. I think Man City, Pep has made particular plans for Brentford in the past, and he always mentions about their set piece and aerial threat. In fact, before he even started using John Stones in midfield, so previous seasons, he played John Stones at right back and Laporte at left back to have an extra centre back versus their aerial threat. So I imagine you're going to get all the big boys for Man City. Your Rodri's, your Ake's, if he's available. I don't think he will, maybe he is. Diaz, Akanji. He's going to bring out those guys for that threat.
Bloody Ake. That guy's killed me.
Well, if there's one game he's going to get rolled out for in preparation for it probably would be this one if he's fit. But yeah, that's what I think you'll see. And Brentford will do their normal thing of... I mean, they don't have Tony, to be fair. So there is that. But...
No. He's the kind of unsettling presence that City might struggle with. But they've also struggled with pacey forwards as well. It was Alcaraz, wasn't it? Did he tore him apart a bit for Southampton?
He's been good, Alcaraz.
Yeah, Brighton linked with him. I like him. He's an explosive option. Chelsea Newcastle. I've gone for a Chelsea win. Look at that.
Oh my God.
Lampard's final game at Stamford Bridge. I just think Newcastle are in holiday mode at the moment. It doesn't matter if they win this or lose it or whatever. You've gone for a 2-1 Newcastle. They are the better team. There's no doubt about that. But funny things happen on Gameweek 38. So that's why I've gone for Chelsea.
Yeah, this is the game where Isak trolls us, by the way. This is the one when everyone gets rid of him.
Please, no.
Away to Chelsea. There's no one that wants to play him in this game. And he's definitely scoring in this game. You can clip this because Isak is going to score. He might even get a penalty when Wilson doesn't bother and goes off knackered. It's definitely happening. This is FPL.
Honestly, I don't think I could cope with that.
It's without a doubt. What crap?
If I sell Isak and he gets double digits in this game, I don't know what I'll do. I will be an absolute inconsolable mess. Palace Forest. We have both gone for goals in this match. I've gone for a 2-1 Palace. You've gone for a 3-1 in this. I mean, again, it's the Forest party, right? Like, how long has that been going on for now? Are they going to be in any state to do this? They're safe. They're fine. Mark will be absolutely delighted with that, and congratulations to Forest. I never lost faith in them, actually. I always thought they would make it. That home form is just, when you've got that to rely on, it's absolutely incredible. And Awoniyi and Gibbs White particularly has been, I mean, there was big question marks asked, but how much did he cost? About 40 million, 50 million, something like that?
Yeah, I never knew he was as good as what he was. I had my doubts, put it that way.
He is elite, absolute elite player.
Him and Awoniyi have transformed their season. I mean, benching Brennan Johnson, I think, most weeks in order to do it. Like, you have to take your hat off to Cooper because there's not a single Forest fan that probably thought that would be the story of their season.
No. But we have both gone for the Palace win, which unfortunately does make Eze a pretty good pick, doesn't it? Because I think the chances of him coming out of a 2-1 or a 3-1 win with no points is pretty low.
You've done it now.
Hope
Yeah, the thing for me is, right, McAllister to Eze, which will be probably quite popular, or Matoma to him. He's 0.1 more, and I don't have 0.1 in the bank.
Nor do I.
So I literally cannot get Eze unless I have to take a hit if I'm taking one of those two players out.
It's not just me.
But the fact that both of us are now not doing it pretty much confirms your score. So my other options are to get Jordan Ayew if I want to get a piece of Palace, which I think he scored one brace this season, which was great, but outside that has been utter turd. I imagine Edouard. I mean, he's played well. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about FPL terms. He's not a good FPL pick, is he? But he's actually played quite well for Palace. I think Edouard would have to be the one I get, but it's just there's no guarantee. I mean, even when he starts, he comes off early. He's not on penalties. It doesn't really excite me.
No, me neither.
But yeah, if I want a piece of Palace, it basically looks like it has to be A or Edouard. So I'm probably going to have to avoid.
Yep. Everton Bournemouth. That's a key, absolutely key match. If Everton win this, that relegates Leicester and Leeds. We've both gone for an Everton win, so we are both condemning Leeds and Leicester to the Championship next season. I've gone. This looks like 1-0 to me, all over. You know, with a set piece goal. You've gone for a few more goals than this, a 2-1. But yeah, it would be good for Deitch to get him over the line, but just barely.
I think if there's any team you can kind of say, even though they've been doing okay, like on the beach, it's kind of Bournemouth, isn't it? There's no real reason. He's been trying, not necessarily just in attitude, but he's been trying stuff out in formations and personnel as well.
Well, why not? I mean, they're safe, and they've had a. I mean, they were the number one team to go down from everyone, weren't they? So they've done incredibly well.
They've done incredibly well. So that if you do put any weight in the playing for something, not playing for something, this is the game that screams out. And I keep mentioning it, but they are highest for the clean sheet odds this week. So Yerry Mina 1-0, if I do go that way, would be absolutely beautiful. But
could happen.
I mean, he scored recently, didn't he? So I suppose that's part of what.
Or you bring him in and Bournemouth score in the first minute, and then
I just think it's a red card. It's not happened.
Leeds Spurs. I've gone for a Leeds win here, a 2-1. I think they've got something about them in attack. Just obviously can't defend. You've gone the opposite way. You've gone for 3-1 Spurs. Again, though, goals you'd expect in this one.
Leeds are just shocking at the back. It's absolutely shocking. I know Spurs aren't particularly been absolutely rubbish, but we know they've got firepower. And in certain games, I think where teams just can't defend, I don't see how Kane, Son, and that don't get involved in some points here.
Yeah. Leicester West Ham, big game of the week. I've gone for a draw, a 2-2. Don't think Leicester just quite have enough to win this game. You've gone even more the other way. You've gone for a 3-1 West Ham, just to absolutely batter them and really send Dean Smith down into the Championship with his tail in between his legs.
I think we've seen from West Ham in recent weeks, like when the shackles are almost off, like when they shouldn't really care about the match and Moyes isn't playing in such, like they actually can perform pretty well and score some goals. So that's just what I went for. Leicester terrible in defence.
Yep. United Fulham, Manchester United Fulham. I slap myself every time I say United. 2-0 we've both gone for in this one. I mean, Mitrovic is an interesting punt as well. We haven't really mentioned him. It's about the worst fixture it could be because Manchester United is so strong at home, but Mitrovic is such a strong option, and the massive rest he got has helped him in some ways because he's come back firing. So he's an option. I mean, if you want to go against Shaw's and De Gea's and target someone who's on penalties and the focal point of the team, then maybe Mitrovic. But I would expect Manchester United to get the clean sheet here.
Yeah, I think it's the only one I've gone for. So hopefully, I think a lot of people have got De Gea and Shaw double up, so probably could do with Fulham scoring, to be honest. But yeah, Mitrovic I don't mind. I mean, we know he's on penalties again, and presumably he's one of these players that will see 90 minutes. I would have thought because he's barely played. I know Vinicius is there, but I think if anything, they probably end up playing them both at some point.
Yep. And the final game is the one that we've both backed the most goals in. Southampton-Liverpool. I've gone for a 3-1 Liverpool. You've gone big. You've gone for a 5-1 mauling at St Mary's.
There's always at least one game, right, at the end of the season that is huge amount of goals. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe it's this one. And getting Liverpool players in is kind of my ideal scenario. I just don't know who to get.
Yeah.
Firmino captain, people are saying maybe. Do you think they'd give Firmino? I mean, Firmino was such a perfect send-off. It's almost like that's worked against him now. You could say, like, would you want to play him again in this game because he had such a great send-off?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think they do.
So you think they'll play? Do you think they'll play Gakpo up top?
Yeah. With
Salah and Diaz, they'll go like for their three that they've been playing.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, because then Gakpo becomes really appealing as a midfielder.
I mean, particularly if Manchester United don't beat Chelsea, I think we're all assuming they do. If they do and top four's off, then potentially there's more rotation, and there could be a lot of rotation. But yeah, I would guess on that front three, but you don't really know.
What about a cheeky Trent captain?
Cheeky Trent. I think Southampton. We both think Southampton score though. That's the problem.
Probably, but if you're going for like out of all the Hail Marys that are there, a player like Trent, we've seen that it can happen. Like he could score a brace potentially. He's probably one of the only defenders who could claim that. Like, obviously, it's probably not going to happen. But I'm thinking if you're just completely like don't care, like you think Haaland might get reduced minutes, you think Salah might come off even against Southampton.
I
You're
don't
bottom
hate
of your
it.
mini
I
league.
don't hate it. I just look at Arsenal and think, okay, there's Saka there potentially. There's
Mm.
Trossard as a Hail Mary punt, as you say. There's Eze at home to Forest. There's Son or Kane away at Leeds.
There's better picks, yeah.
Yeah, Rashford even at home to Fulham. I don't know. I think I'd probably go for. It's not an awful pick to go for Trent.
I think if I was bottom of the league, I'd do it. If I'm mini league, I just maybe
maybe
not bottom.
maybe I should. Maybe I will. I need to do something interesting on the final day. I don't even know what my targets are. I think my only kind of league that could not. I don't want to get relegated from General's Elite 64 basically because I got relegated 2 years ago, clawed my way back in last year because I had a really good season, and now I'm on the cusp of getting bloody relegated again.
So how many points do you need to get? Do you know roughly, or even just to beat Mark or whatever? You're sort of 14 away, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I'm 9 points behind Mark going into this game, but he's got Mahrez and Estepinian and Steele in this,
Right.
and I've just got
So you need
Matoma.
something like a Trent brace.
Yeah, well, I need a miracle. I need a miracle on that final day from a lesser spotted player. I mean, I'd love to get in Abernathy, for example, and he gets 15 points, and then that sees me beat Mark. That's the dream. But
Mark might do that himself.
I
Might he?
know well, Mark matched me with a bloody Fernandez shout, which was a Fernandez captain, which was very irritating this week because he's seeing it out like a seasoned pro. But yeah, I mean, to not get relegated from the Elite 64, I'm about 9 points off as well. So, depending on what happens tonight, I think I'm going to need about 10 points above the average to stay up. But yeah, we'll see. Captains are interesting this week, like we've talked about. We've mentioned a lot of the big names: Haaland, potentially Fernandez, Salah. I put McNeil on here, Dwight McNeil.
Mm. Yeah, we didn't mention him yet, did we? I see a lot of noise on Twitter about him.
Yeah, he's playing left back, isn't he, at the moment, which is the concern.
Yeah, he's it doesn't strike me as an amazing pick, but I get the reasons why.
I mean, his XGI non-penalty per 90 is 0.57, which is high. Majority of that comes from when they absolutely thrashed us, I imagine. But he's someone potentially because he's cheaper than Eze, for example, isn't he? He's 5'3", I think. So he's someone that we could move towards with McAllister if you've got no money in the bank.
Cheering on an Everton attacker.
I know.
Feel good,
They've got 5 goals in them though,
instinctively.
Luke. I've seen it. I've witnessed it.
That's true.
Yeah, but they did have Calvert-Lewin who was playing well. I think like you say, Mina is probably the better option there. And then you've got Rashford, Kane, Alvarez, Saka, Eze, even Watkins. We've mentioned that we both think Brighton are going to lose that game, and he plays. So there is a real potential for you. Just gotta get so lucky on this final day. But yeah, Haaland's at the top over the last 6. XG non-penalty per 90 of 0.88. Fernandez 0.7. Salah 0.68. Kane 0.52. Saka and Eze down in 0.34, 0.33. And Watkins, surprisingly, 0.3. He's the bottom of all the players I've just mentioned, but does have the pens as well.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say that may have an impact on some people is your final team selection, who you pick, who you captain. You do have to stare at it for quite a while
that's
if you
true.
go back on that.
Yeah.
Do you want to look at Pickford or Yeremy or Dwight
McNeil
McNeil coming as captain for like 1 month and just think, what on earth was I thinking? Like,
imagine if it comes in though, and you get to sit and look at that every day.
True.
Yeah,
that's true. Do an Andy Martin, just like have it in the mirror and masturbate into it.
Omar's saying PG rating going up. Thanks, Luke.
Sorry, Omar's saying is Gross on penalties with Max 10 out. I think he is, isn't he? You're the man for Brighton. But
he has to be. Yeah, he's second choice. So, yep, he will be. He'd have been a good move. That's another player who, if you went against McAllister and got Gross when everyone was buying him, he's done better than him. So yeah, there's definitely been opportunities. Just looking at captain opponents over the last 6, Southampton are bottom, which is why Salah is so appealing. Wolves aren't far behind though, which makes those Arsenal attackers look quite interesting. And then it's Forest and Leeds. Leeds have been the worst over the season out of all these kind of sides that we're looking at. Expected to basically concede over 2 goals every match, or near enough 2 goals every match, conceding 2.92 big chances per 90, which is massive. So yeah, Porro, can he redeem himself for being on my bench and getting that massive haul?
I'd be really hopeful if he starts. It's just whether he starts or not.
Come on, Pedro Porro.
Because didn't they kind of change their setup a little bit to bench him
They
last week?
did. So. Yeah, that was great to see. Yeah, Dan Juma came in and they went for the bat, didn't they? But they got battered with it. So maybe that was just a one game thing. We'll see. Porro actually hasn't been too bad, has he, under Mason?
I think he's a good pick. I mean, Mason's not going to be the manager next season, is he? As far as I know,
no,
is it a temporary thing?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean that's the whole thing for me though. If you are buying a defender, none of us really think there is many clean sheets about. So it comes back to who do you think is going to attacking returns, and it's been the same way for defenders nearly all season. Like none of them have particularly offered much. So I think Yerry Mina, the fact that he has got a serious goal threat from corners, Porro who can score from open play. I mean, even when he came on the other game, again he had so many chances straight away. Like those are the two defenders I think are probably the ones I consider as picks this week for like Hail Marys. You may not play.
You've got to have a couple of players. It's the last game week of the season. You know, all the games on at once. You sit around with a beer, watching it with your mates. It's my favourite day of the year, pretty much. I love it. You're going to be stuck at work.
Didn't we watch last season together at the end? Was that Man City?
Yeah,
West Ham?
yeah. We watched it last season. You came up to Hitchin, didn't you? We watched it.
Yeah,
that was
fun.
It.
It was fun, apart from none of my players got points. But
there is always that. They never do. We watched it with my friend Matt, didn't we? He's a Leeds fan, and he was just sat with his head in his hands watching that game, and they managed to stay up. It is fun. Looking at our teams, this is mine on the screen. It's De Gea in goal with Trent, Trippier, the man himself, Pedro Porro. It's currently Salah captain with Fernandes, Rashford, McAllister, Matoma, Haaland, and Watkins. And then it's Everson, Isak, Lewis, and Dunk on the bench. I mean, Lewis could come in if I think he's going to start, or we get any news against Brentford, but I think they score. So maybe I just do stick with Trippier. And then it's either McAllister or Matoma out for McNeil, which, as I say it, doesn't sound great. Or almost certainly going to be Isak out for another forward, with that forward either being Alvarez if he starts, or Awanayi. That's the plan.
Who would you bench when you do that then? Got to be McAllister at this point, isn't it?
One of McAllister or Matoma.
Suppose we don't know if McAllister even plays the way it's
going.
Don't
even know if Matoma plays, given that he's played more games than I thought he could do. I think
you don't need to rest him last day, do you?
No, true. I don't know. One of those two I would bench.
I mean, McAllister seems to have gone beyond rest now, hasn't it? It seems to be more to do with him leaving.
Decore's been mentioned. Do you know what? I've always wanted to own Decore, and never have. And I remember when he was at Watford and he was scoring goals, and I just love him as a player. I think he's great. I know he hasn't been amazing at Everton, but I do rate him. It always surprised me that a big team never got him from Watford.
I'm not so sure.
No?
I think he's all right. Does a job, but
I like him.
He got bombed from the team at one point as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He's been a bit up and down since then. But on his day, he's a hell of a he's unplayable on his day. He's so strong and so quick. Your team is Raya in goal. It's Trent, Kiwior and Shaw, Fernandes, Salah, Rashford, and it's the same as mine. Matoma, McAllister, Haaland, and Watkins. So yeah, what you thinking of something similar to me?
Yeah, I keep banging on about it. Isak to a forward and then start him over one of Matoma or McAllister is probably what I'll do. But my goalkeepers are a shambles, as you've seen. So could do boring and just get like Ramsdale or Pickford for one of those and go for a clean sheet, but doesn't feel great. Or alternatively, Estupinan to Mina and then bring him into the team and then bench either Matoma or McAllister or even Kior. Yeah. One of those. I'd like to have a little bit more money in the forward spot so I could get a Liverpool forward. Like that would be the ideal scenario. Is we found out a leak of who plays for Liverpool, and then I can get either Gakpo or Darwin Núñez or whatever, because I do think they'll score.
Would you do that for a hit then?
Well, that's what I mean. They're too expensive. I can't. So I'm not going to do it for a hit. I don't think. Not unless we get a leak say that I don't know 4 or 5 of my players are benched or something, which could happen the way it's been going at the moment. Buying players for doubles and stuff and just not turning up like all over the place.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. But I think, like we already discussed, nearly everyone who can is going to be waiting. There's no reason to wait for price rises and stuff like that. It's the end of the game, isn't it? So there's no need for that. You're just going to wait until the end. A leak's going to come out, and you're probably going to make a decision based on that, and then curse because it probably changed the move you had in your mind, and that'll end up doing better. But welcome to FPL.
Yeah, I'd love to get a third Liverpool asset in for this Southampton game, but Yeah, like you say, my team isn't set up for it, so I just won't be able to. But yeah, that could be a really nice option. A Gakpo, if he starts, I think is about as good as it gets. So yeah, good shout. Looking at the black box leagues, Ali is still top of the world, 2695. He'll be, looking at the teams and everything going into these next two games today and tomorrow. He is 22 points above Joanne Hales Owen, so got a nice lead going into this. Then it's Chris Glover in third, Oystein Valavic in fourth, Vicky Davis in fifth. We'll be familiar with some of these names. They've been there for most of the season. Tom Apedale in sixth. Josiah, I think, is new. Vedazian in seventh. Mabruk Ajani in eighth. Sam White in ninth. And Liam Paffett, I think, is new as well, creeping into the top 10. So, yeah, amazing seasons for all of you guys. And, yeah, best of luck, achieving those top 10 finishes that you're all on course to do. And good luck in the battle between Ali and Joanne, because that is going to go to the wire.
Yeah, I think Ali wildcarded and got in Kevin De Bruyne, and I think he's played like 10 minutes since he got him in or something. It's incredible he's still doing so well to bring in a player like almost, you can almost say, is game breaking. I think he went for like 4 premiums. He's nearly at 12 million still, and he's just not played like at all.
Yeah.
So to do that and still be in that position, it's pretty impressive.
I know, he's done incredibly well. He's got Trippier on the bench, so I'll be hoping that Rashford doesn't come in. He's got Akanji, who hasn't played. Obviously, so I'll be disappointed with that. Let me just check Joanne quickly. Joanne she's in a similar position. They've basically got very similar teams.
Okay, well, that's good for him then, isn't it?
Very good for him. Yeah, second in the world is JY. Yeah, to be fair, there isn't a lot of difference between a lot of these teams. So there's not really many players.
There's not a lot of difference between anyone's team.
I know.
You click anyone at random.
Yeah, you'd think in that position in the top 10, there might be a bit more diversity because as you come into the last few weeks, people really pushing for it. But no, I think he'll be confident that he can just see this one out. So yeah, fair play.
I think last season though, nearly everyone in the top 10 did something a bit crazy to try and win it, didn't they? Including the winner. Didn't he go for someone crazy?
Was that the Mane captain?
It may well have been, yeah. He certainly did the De Bruyne 4 goals thing, but
I'm not making up this Mane thing, am I? Because I'm doubting myself on it. It was his last game.
Yeah, I think he scored maybe a brace.
He scored 2, didn't he? Yeah.
I'm sure the chat will.
Yeah, I think everyone went for Salah and he got like 5, and Mane got the 2.
Yeah. I mean, would you do that in your position? Your top 10 in FPL, you could just maybe secure like a top 10 with like a Salah captain, or do you get like
I would push
Dwight McNeil and captain?
I would put if I was like, I'd say up to a maximum of like 30 points.
Right.
I'd still feel like I could win it.
Okay.
I mean, Mark made up 60 points on me in 1 week, essentially.
It's definitely not impossible.
It's not impossible. You've got to go for it. Yeah.
I think I would. I mean, but it's just, I suppose, you were top 10. You can say I was top 10, top 20. Like, it's still an impressive season there. I would 100% do it as well, I think. Yeah.
Although, like you say, though, imagine being like in the top 10, you've captained like McNeil, and if you went for Salah, you'd have won it or something stupid. That'd always haunt you, wouldn't it?
I suppose the EO play, right, would be, let's assume Haaland plays and he's playing a strong team and obviously everyone owns him. So to go against the crowd and take Haaland out and captain someone else, like be it a Kane or whoever on the last day, I think some of them in that top 10 may do that because that is the way to completely differentiate your team to a lot of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think Abhinav says that the Mane captain was 2 seasons ago, not 1 season ago.
So, was it?
Yeah, I don't know where the years are going, to be honest. Don't know what day it is today. Actually, doing BlackBox helps me know which day, because I know it's a Wednesday. It's going to be a nightmare this summer. I'm going to be freaking out, not knowing what day's what. Speaking of days, Gameweek 39, this is the final shout for this. It's next week. I don't know where a year's gone. A year ago, I was playing in this. I will be playing in it again next weekend in the Castle Vale Stadium in Birmingham. That's Saturday the 3rd of June 2023. Do come along if you can. It's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great evening. There's the women's match, there's the men's match, and then a big night out in the evening, hopefully with the South celebrating getting the trophy, keeping the trophy, because we won it last year. If you can't make it, there's other ways you can sort of take part. There's the Gaffer game, so you can pick Sexy Gianni and hopeless throw-in taker me in your teams, and we score points based on how we get on in the match. But mostly, we'd really appreciate people donating to Street Child United. That's what all of this is for. So do head to, check out the Gameweek 39 website, and there's a link to that, and then head to the Street Charge United donation page. And times are tough, but anything you can give to that. That's the whole reason why we do this annual event. But that's it, Luke. We have made it. 38 weeks of pain are coming to an end soon. Thank you so much for joining me. I mean, it has been, it's obviously not been great doing it without Mark. Me and him have forged our friendship through this podcast, but I couldn't have wished for a better person to step in. So thank you very much.
Thanks, mate. No problem. Back to the old Top Guns again. We'll have to change again. It's like a third thing. Top Gun, Black Box. Come up with a third one now,
keep rebranding every time.
Yeah, you'd have to exchange me and Mark for someone else.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully Mark, will be back, next season. I mean, it's not like he's lost the love of doing the pod. He's constantly in communication with me. The Forest thing's been great for him. He's happy to be ahead. It's not anything to do with his dedication to it. It's just life has got in the way. So really hoping that he comes back strong next season, and actually sees it through, because it's 2 seasons now when he's dropped out. So
absolutely, we want him back. The GOAT, the man with the flavour, with the spice. We love it.
And finally, just a massive thank you to everyone everyone who's voted for us in the FCAs, everyone who's watched all the streams and listened to the podcasts and put up with Luke and I moaning over the last few weeks and everything else that comes with it. I love doing Black Box and wouldn't bother doing it if we didn't get the views and the watches. So yeah, just thanks everyone for tuning in. And yeah, we'll be back with a new colour scheme next season.
Woo, can't wait.
Yeah.
Good luck, everyone, for the final game week. And remember, don't buy Dwight Manil.
Oh, he's definitely scoring a hat-trick now. Thanks, everyone. We will see you soon.